booth with my friend Lise Pedersen. Good evening.
Good evening, Joshua.
Fifth launch of the year for Arianespace, the second Ariane 5 of 2019. 2 telecom satellites going up, their combined weight just under 10.6 tons, only possible on an Ariane 5. Some 1,700 people working around the space base in all. Our cameras are here in Jupiter and, of course, out on the launch pad. But many others are at work in many other sites across the range. One of them is right here. This is the launch zone, where the launch management teams are working under the direction of the Launch Complex Operations Manager, Klaus Zell. You can see him here. You saw him in the film a moment ago. The work done up there carried out by 2 teams, one responsible for executing flight chronology, and the other responsible for verification of the flight worthiness of the Ariane 5 vehicle, the quality people. Now, the Launch Complex Operations Manager, Klaus Zell, coordinates with Mission Control for final authorization to launch. When all the conditions are right, he, and nobody else, he then okays the automatic sequence that we just saw at -7 minutes. He unleashes that. In all, about 100 people up there, hard at work. Countdown, a very complicated process and a long one. Final countdown actually began at 7:20 this morning. That's 11 hours ago, with first checks of the inertial measurement and geometric units. The safeguard subsystem was switched on at that time. Split screen image here showing the propellant feeder arms in the middle of the launch vehicle. Liquid hydrogen on the left, LH2, liquid oxygen on the right. What are they doing? Well, they're putting propellant into the upper stage tanks, and you'll see the arms pull back at 7 seconds before ignition, and you see them right there, the yellow bars going from the gantry on the right into the upper stage on the left. It's one of the last things you'll see before liftoff, so we just like to take a minute and point it out. Minute and a half to go. The electrical power supply has been switched on from the ground to on board. Remember, Ariane weaning from her roots in the ground to autonomy in flight. And here in Jupiter, the invited guests have begun to make their ways outside to watch the liftoff.
Tous de DDO. Attention pour le I0, moins 1 minute.
The DDO is going to call out the 1-minute mark.
Top I0, moins 1 minute.
So we're into the final 60 seconds. Give us a chance to say hi to all our friends at Maxar in the U.S., headquarters in Westminster, Colorado, and Palo Alto, California, where the teams who built the satellite are watching. To our friends at Eutelsat headquarters in Paris, where you're hosting a big event, good evening to you. Locally, to the French Guiana sites, to our industrial partners, to ESA and CNES, and to all of you following on the internet. We hope you're enjoying the broadcast. If you're not settled in, please do so. We will cut away, let you listen to the DDO as he calls out the final seconds. Remember, watch out for the cryogenic arms to open. That sets the ball rolling.
À tous les DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, unité. Top. Allumage moteur Vulcain. Allumage UAP et top décollage. Les paramètres bons sont conformes à l'attendu.
18:43 local time and right on time. You saw it. Ariane 5 began her mission roaring off from the ground here in French Guiana with a lot of fire going up through the thin cloud layer. We had so much rain today, we didn't think we'd have any visibility at all. But look at her go. She's carrying 2 satellites, 2 new telecom satellites, the 2 boosters providing 90% of our thrust right now, propelling the launcher along her trajectory at an ever higher velocity. 775 tons at liftoff. And to get that sort of mass off the ground, you need a lot of push. And you can see, push we have. She's burning 5 tons of fuel every second. That's 2.5 tons of fuel every second in each booster. And the core stage burning another 300 kilos of fuel per second. Into the blue sky she goes, beginning her 5th mission of the year. Ariane 5 now following the program in the onboard computer, which gives all the orders, including stage separations, which we'll soon begin to see in about 20 seconds. We're in the first of 4 flight phases, and we'll describe each in turn and in detail. You can follow Ariane as she heads east across the Atlantic. The first 3 phases are powered, like this one, and the 4th is not. Right now, the first flight phase, the single first stage engine and the 2 boosters are burning. Another about 12 seconds for them. And they will be the first to be extinguished. And you'll hear that from the DDO, but also with the camera work we have, you'll see the flame out there. Should be right about now. That looks like the flame out right there. You are. The 2 boosters falling away on either side. You see that very clearly. And the dot in the middle, that is the core stage Ariane continuing on her way. Very clear shots. Haven't seen this in quite a while. The first flight phase using both cryogenic and storable propellant. Cryogenic in the main stage, the dot that's still burning, and storable propellant in the boosters, who have done their job. There are pros and cons to each. Cryogenic propulsion offers certain advantages as getting us off the ground, and it is more precise. The DDO has confirmed, of course, separation of the 2 boosters. The boosters will fall away about 500 kilometers from shore into a protected area. Next up, fairing separation, and with this visibility, you'll probably be able to see that as well. And you can see that perfectly clear. The 2 light blue dots, those are the 2 halves of the fairing falling away from the mothership. We haven't seen clear skies like this in at least a year. So this is a wonderful, wonderful sight. Ariane, the main dot in the middle, the dot of light, is the first stage continuing again on her mission. The 2 points of light falling away, those are the halves of the fairing. We don't even need the onboard camera that we have because this is much better. Fairing separation coming at 112 kilometers up, roughly, because we're out of the Earth's atmosphere. If you can take your eyes away from the site in the middle, just briefly look on the bottom left of your screen. We see our altitude 140 kilometers. And on the right, the bottom right, approaching 3 kilometers per second. Now, the speed we need to separate a satellite, if you remember, between 8 and 9 kilometers per second, roughly, because it's roughly the speed of the turning Earth. So when you see the numbers on the bottom of the screen approaching those figures, you'll know we're nearing separation time. Arianespace is part of Europe's space effort, which is a 3-way affair among ESA, the European Space Agency, you saw Charlotte Biscoe there, the French Space Agency, CNES, and Arianespace, the 3rd partner. You find them all here, along with the customers. Arianespace operating the family of launchers and marketing the launch services of the Ariane program, and the Ariane program, I should say. ESA funding new programs, and CNES overseeing coordination of all space-based operation. Guyana Space Center, the world's only dedicated commercial space base, where Arianespace operating the launcher family, Ariane 5, soon to be Ariane 6, Soyuz and Vega, soon to be the updated Vega C. Vega C4 consolidated. So we are on our way since 5 minutes using Ariane 5, the heavy lift launcher carrying 10 tons tonight. We're going to go to the first of what we hope are several launch replays. And you can relive those vivid, vivid pictures and those exciting moments as you saw Ariane come roaring off the pad. Other replays probably coming up. I'll interweave the commentary in between them. We're in the 2nd powered flight phase, the single-engine core stage, still burning. Another minute or so to go before it shuts down. Here's your 2nd replay. We have at the base here 5 or 6 observation sites, and we have cameras at most of them. Sites named for local birds. There's toucan, there's a colibri. Colibri is French for hummingbird.
Et les paramètres propulsifs sont conformes à l'attendu.
Here's another replay from the ibis, the red ibis. That's another bird. That's a observation site just back of us here on the hill. Look at that. We were so worried this morning because we had such rain and such cloud cover, and we thought we're going to never see anything. Ariane will disappear after 10 seconds into the clouds. But take a look at that. Wonderful. 7 minutes. We mentioned we separated the fairing now because we're out of the dense layers of the atmosphere, neither friction nor heating, which could disrupt the passengers. We can also get rid of any dead weight. We don't need it. The fairing weighs about 2.5 tons, so we can get rid of it now. Coming up, we're going to be picked up by our downrange tracking station at Natal over the border in Brazil, I believe, right?
That is right. And it looks now Natal has gone yellow, which means we have been picked up by our second tracking station, Natal over the border in Brazil, which tracks the lower stage burnout and separation. So, as we were telling you at the start of our broadcast, all of Ariane's trajectory has been designed to be followed from the ground. The launcher's functions and vital signs are recorded throughout the entire launch, and they're sent back to a network of stations that keeps constant watch on the health of her systems. In all, information on some 1,500 parameters is collected. And what do the ground stations like Natal do with all this information? Well, customers get immediate data on their spacecraft, which is, of course, very important. Some data are analyzed in real time, and other data are studied after the flight to learn how the vehicle performs on its mission, and a complete analysis is carried out in the weeks following the launch. So you just heard the DDO, yes, talking about Natal in Brazil, which was picking up the signals. So the complete analysis is carried out in the weeks following the launch, and that provides a wealth of technical information for better performance and robustness.
All right. We've had, as you've seen on the screen, the cutoff of the lower stage, the separation of the lower stage, and the ignition of the upper stage. You saw the ignition on the animation. Confirmation from the DDO of those three events coming on time at about 168 kilometers up. Those orders given in about 13 seconds by the onboard computer. Onboard computer, of course, taking over from the ground control. Lower stage falls into the Atlantic off the Gulf of Guinea. So if you've been following, we're now in the third and final powered flight phase. The single upper stage engine is burning now. We'll burn until plus 2502, 16 more minutes. Roughly. The job of the upper stage takes the satellites to their injection point, positions them for separation, and then releases them. That's its propulsion role. But we mentioned the fourth flight phase, which is not powered, called ballistics phase. She has another role at that time, and we'll have more on that later on. Turning to the passengers, our first look now at T-16.
Hi. I'm Véronique Loisel, and I am T-16 Program Director at Arianespace. My work mainly consists in interfacing with our customer for all subjects linked to technical matters, but also contractual, communication, financial, insurance, and legal aspects. Our job is to respond at best at our customers' requests. As you know, this mission of VA248 Ariane 5 ECA is to bring into GTO orbit 2 satellites, among which T-16 as the upper spacecraft, manufactured for a leader provider of digital television programs. This spacecraft, weighing about 6,330 kilos, is based on the well-known Eurostar 3000 Airbus DS platform. It is equipped with a hybrid propulsion system, first using chemical propulsion for his orbit raising, and then electrical propulsion for station keeping throughout satellite life. T-16 will be the 130th spacecraft from these manufacturers to be launched by Arianespace. About 2 weeks ago, on D-9, T-16 was integrated on the CILDA structure, which later encapsulated Eutelsat 7C, the passenger located in the lower position. T-16 will therefore be separated first, followed by Eutelsat 7C. The T-16 satellite will provide high-power broadcast services in Ku and Ka bands. The spacecraft is designed to be flexible and is capable of operating from any one of 5 different orbit slots. It will cover the continental United States, Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, and the American Virgin Islands. In a few minutes from now, we will witness the separation of T-16 and the start of its 15 years of design life in space.
T-16, built by Airbus Defence and Space, can be operated from 5 different orbital slots. That's something you don't see every day. From 99 degrees west to 119 degrees west, according to demand. If you're keeping score, 99.2, 101, 102.8, 110, and 119. Running on hybrid propulsion, using chemical for orbit raising and electrical for station keeping. Co-passenger Eutelsat 7C is an all-electric satellite, and we'll have a little more detail on that when it's Eutelsat's turn. Tonight is a standard double launch, 2 communication satellites, but remember, throughout the long career of the Ariane family and Soyuz and Vega, for that matter, Arianespace has launched for all types of missions and all types of orbits. Another look now for more on T-16 and its prime, Airbus.
Acquisition de la télémesure par la station d'Ascension.
A fruitful cooperation between Arianespace and Airbus, going back to the time when Arianespace itself was formed back in 1980. T-16 is the 130th Airbus satellite to be launched by the company, and there are another 20 Airbus-built birds in the backlog. Arianespace and Eutelsat also go back a long way. First Arianespace launched for the Paris firm in 1983, Eutelsat 1. Tonight's is the 33rd Eutelsat satellite launched by Arianespace, over half its total fleet. I think Stefan Israel mentioned that.